The steering wheel always feels a little different to me when I'm headed east out of Montrose. Behind me, the valley is fading, and with it, the high-energy hum of the Mayfly Dealer Days. It's a strange thing to spend 48 hours surrounded by the pinnacle of fly fishing engineering. The anodized aluminum, the sealed drags, the bright geometry of all those modern reels. And then I find myself staring at the peaks of the San Juans, thinking about the raw mechanics of the landscape itself. I'm rolling towards Denver now. The mountains are watching my retreat in the rearview mirror. Being back in this southwest corner, for me, is a study in secession. I find that in this life, nostalgia isn't about a specific date on the calendar. It's a measurement of change across a landscape you've known intimately. I grew up in the shadow of these peaks, back when the silence was a little bit heavier, when the pace of the high country felt, well, permanent. I've spent decades watching the friction between that quiet analog Colorado and the high-tech, high-velocity version we navigate today. Let me tell you something. These mountains, they don't change their bones. But the way we interact with them, the gear we carry, the fish we chase, that's a story still being written. This drive, it's a quiet reckoning with that evolution. This is the Field Standard Podcast, home of the sporting conservationist, and we're broadcasting from the edge of the civilized world.
I cut it up with a chainsaw.
Oh, there we go, boy!
The fish is way down there.
There you go. Let's go!
The history of the water I'm driving past right now, it's a narrative of industrial ambition. We like to view these mountain streams as static, pristine. But the aquatic reality was largely constructed in the late 1800s. The Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad was the primary architect of this ecology. As the narrow gauge tracks pushed into these canyons, the goal was economic. They wanted to create a destination for sporting tourists. The process, well, it was functional, industrial. The railroads transported milk cans filled with thousands of trout fry, browns from Europe, rainbows from the Pacific coast. As the steam engines chugged alongside the Gunnison or the Taylor, the contents of those cans were introduced directly into the currents. It was a manual, high-speed distribution of life, and it established the foundational layer of the American West's fly fishing culture. These fish are hardy pioneers of our industry. They built the legends of the high country, and they're the very fish that the modern engineering, like those reels I saw in Montrose, were designed to pursue. I'm not here today to call this tragedy or triumph. That's a deep conversation for another time, and one best had over a slow fire, maybe a bourbon. What I can say is that it was the assembly of an ecosystem to meet a human demand. Now, while the railroads were establishing that new baseline, the native Greenback Cutthroat trout was entering a period of displacement. By 1937, the species was officially declared extinct, a casualty of shifting habitats and the success of those introduced trout. But the story of the greenback is a lesson in the resilience of the margins. Small, isolated populations survived in high-altitude headwaters that were too rugged for the railroad's influence to reach or too remote for the competition to follow. And what's fascinating is that this story changed while many of us were already on the water. Throughout the last few decades, our understanding of these fish has significantly shifted as science caught up with the mystery. We discovered that the greenback wasn't just a ghost. It is a biological reality that has persisted through anonymity. Today, the work to restore them happens alongside the thriving industry built on those original milk can fish. We've moved into an era where we manage for both the historical native and the successful immigrant. It's a complex, multi-layered heritage, and it requires a different kind of stewardship. One that respects the history of the 1880s as much as the biology of the Pleistocene. I've got a few hundred miles of pavement left before the Denver skyline replaces the silhouette of these peaks. You can expect to hear more of these dispatches from the cab, As I move across the West this season, the frequency is going mobile because I'm currently on the move, filming and fishing for a new television project. It's launching this fall, and it's a deep dive into the 4 pillars of what we do here: travel, fishing, cooking, and the conservation that holds it all together. Stay tuned over the summer. I'll be sharing more of that story as the miles add up. In the meantime, if you want to see the visuals from these road notes and the behind the scenes of the new project, find us on Instagram at Texas_Josh. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button right where you're listening. Keep your eyes on the road and your heart in the high country. I'm Texas Josh, and this is the Field Standard.